Welcome to Face to Face. This is a show about change and about what's next. It's a show that wants to ask questions, peel back the layers of our average everyday experience, and go beyond scratching the surface. We interview amazing people with incredible ideas and stories who have done wild, weird, and wonderful things. Remember that imagination shared create collaboration, and collaboration creates community, and community inspires social change. I'm David Peck, and this is Face to Face. So my next interview is with Michael Dominic. He's a photojournalist, he's a filmmaker, a storyteller, and he recently won the Best Documentary Feature for a film that he has created, filmed, put together, edited over the course of about 8 years called Clean Hands. Check it out online. And yeah, the best documentary feature by unanimous jury decision at Cinequest Film Festival. This is a film about a family in Nicaragua living by a garbage dump, and their hope and their desire to get out of that and to sort of make a new life in a variety of ways. And this is a film about poverty. It's about humanizing others. It's about trying to bring perspective to our own worldview. It's about the ethics of cinema verite, of stepping into a family, into a life, into somebody else's world, and trying to record it in a way that, makes sense and is respectful. And it's a film about wonder and curiosity and mystery and about empathy and the versions of truth, our truth, their truth, and what exactly does that mean to people who watch films like this and to storytellers as well. Clean Hands, you're going to want to see it. It's engaging, it's challenging, and it's a beautiful film to watch. Coming right up, Michael Dominic. Don't forget, you can get behind the work I'm doing here at Face to Face. If you want to support what I'm doing, you can do that financially through Patreon. We're looking for monthly subscribers. We're also looking for advertisers to start advertising on Face to Face. We got a great following. We have close to 20,000 Twitter followers and over 1 million downloads now, which is crazy to me. And still going strong and building a bigger audience all the time. So if you want to advertise with us, please reach out. And davidpecklive.com for more information about my writing, my speaking. You can find out more there. And don't forget rabble.ca as well for a whole host of other interviews, podcasts, blogs, pieces of news that you don't want to miss. Coming right up, Michael Dominic talking about his new documentary, Clean Hands. Well, welcome to Face to Face. We're joined by a very special guest today. I believe he's, not on the other side of the world, but certainly on the other side of the continent. Michael Dominic is here to talk to us today about his new film, Clean Hands. Michael, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Are you actually on? As I was saying that, I really have no idea where you are. So maybe you're like sitting up, northern Ontario. I mean, where are you anyway?
I am currently in San Jose, California.
San Jose, California, and yet, and folks, just so you know, for those listening at home, he's sitting outside, and I don't know if he's quite as cold as we are here in Toronto today, but cold enough to have a fire lit. So thanks for roughing it there, Michael.
No problem.
So you are at Cinequest, and you're going to be at the San Diego Latino Film Festival next week. Is this kind of the world premiere of the film, Clean Hands?
Yeah, the world premiere this Saturday here at Cinequest. I'm very excited and nervous.
Excited and nervous, yeah. So Saturday is the night, and how? What's your sense? I mean, I'm sure lots of people have seen the film already. That people around you. How are you feeling going into it, other than being nervous?
I feel good. I've got a really good positive response from people. I'm proud of it. So, I can't say much more than that. I'm super proud of it. And I think, from the sense I'm getting from the people that have seen it and the festival that have accepted me, I think we're going to have a good run.
So why don't you try to, before I start, asking you some more sort of pointed questions about the film, shot over 7 years, a huge amount of of your time in your life, quite a passionate commitment to telling this story. Can you kind of lay a little bit of groundwork for us, give us a little bit of context about what Clean Hands really is all about?
About the film itself.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
or about how you even, I mean, and how you stepped into the story, and I mean, a 7 year making of a film is quite a commitment.
yeah. Well, I was a photojournalist on assignment in Nicaragua for a European newspaper, and I had done a bunch of different stories down there, from cockfighting to bull riders. And a friend of mine who was doing another documentary, she recommended that I go visit La Chureca, which is the garbage dump in Managua. So I did, and as soon as I saw it, I knew that I wanted to do something to tell the story of the people that lived and worked there. Um, so I decided before the end of that trip that I was going to come back and start shooting, and that's exactly what I did.
So when you actually hit record and you started stepping into this story, I mean, I would imagine pretty unknown territory, and yet
Absolutely.
photojournalist, I'm sure you've seen things like this before. What where did you start? Was it just you arrived at the dump, you hit record and started meeting people, or was it a little more intentional than that?
It was, I mean, it was a little of both, I think. I, um, I knew that I needed to find certain people that had things going on, because this is a cinema verite. It's not, it's not a sit down interview type of documentary. It's following people's lives. So I wanted to meet people there that were working and who had interesting stories that were going on in their lives. Um, and I followed a bunch of different subjects before I found the family. I didn't find the family that is the center of Clean Hands until I think my third trip. And is I saw the kids. The first time you see the kids in the film, that's the first time I saw the kids. They were digging through fish at a fish truck that dumps the carcasses at the dump. And as soon as I saw them and I realized that they saw me, but they had such an ease in front of the camera. As soon as I realized that, I was, I knew that they were going to be a big part of the film.
Sure, sure. Well, I mean, it really is interesting when you say the ease in front of the camera, because it makes me it raises questions just about how you change the environment stepping into it. I'm sure you've thought a great deal about that as a photojournalist. The moment you pull out a camera, things change. People smile. They pose.
Absolutely.
So yeah, love to go down that route a little bit with you from just
Okay.
even an ethical perspective and a storytelling perspective. Did you ever feel over that? Wow, again, 7 years. And by the way, congratulations on the film. It's
Thank you.
yeah, a remarkable achievement, um, um, and compelling and engaging and heartbreaking all at the same time. It's and yet ultimately, I think, sort of can I use the word triumphant? Is that the right word to use? Um,
I think cautiously triumphant would be,
cautiously
yeah,
triumphant.
if that's a thing even. But yeah, I think so. I think so.
Good.
Um, so yeah, ethically, yeah, when you introduce anybody into a situation, it changes, and when you turn on a camera, it changes even more. And when I started this, I thought that I would be working with some other people, but I quickly decided that it had to just be me and one local person. Um, because the more you are in a situation, the more people you have, um, you pollute the situation, and the situation becomes focused on the crew. And so I didn't have a crew. It was, 90% of the time it's just me there. I had someone that an associate producer from there who spoke Spanish, and he translated for me when necessary, because my Spanish, regretfully, is still terrible. It's language isn't my strong suit. Um, but yeah, ethically, for me, making a documentary, I always have to ask myself, why am I doing this? I have to like the answer to continue. It's
right. How many? That's really interesting. How many times do you ask yourself a question like that over the period of 7 years? Because I would imagine when from the first day you met the family and you'd hit record, you say your third trip, you probably didn't think 7 years to make the film.
No, when I first started, I thought I was going to be filming for maybe a year. I was going to put something together in another year, editing, maybe less, and I would have a film out, 5 years ago, but 6 years ago, because it's 8 years now. But it didn't work out that way. You've seen the film. Their circumstances change quite dramatically. There are things that happen that kind of take twists and turns. And I knew that I had to follow these things to a resolution, or at least as close to one as I could get. But I had to ask myself, I think I ask myself that every day, like, why am I doing this? And sometimes when I would run out of money, I'd really ask myself, why am I doing this?
Yeah, because this kind of storytelling. There's probably not a whole lot of financial payoff. This is not this is probably not going to find a wide audience, right?
No, I don't. I don't know how big the audience will be, but when you make something for 8 years, if you have grants and funding, and I'm not a good grant writer, so I really didn't apply for too many. You just are never going to really make your money back. I can't see how that could be possible with all the time put into it.
Well, I've been interviewing documentarians, and I just have such a huge amount of respect for the commitment and the passion and the intention and all of that. I mean, the things. I mean, I remember interviewing. I believe it was Angelia Nair, a Canadian filmmaker who was making a film, Gunrunner, and I believe at the 5-year mark, she either lost the hard drives or they were stolen, and so you're almost back. Like here you're saying, you're asking yourself the question, why am I doing this every day, right? And this is a huge mountain to climb, it seems to me. So again, again, congratulations. What do you
Thank you. Well, I want to clarify.
Yeah.
I made a joke. The reason I ask myself why I'm doing it is, am I doing it for myself, or am I doing it to tell a story?
Right.
And the answer, of course, has to be, I'm doing this to tell a story that is doing service to the world. The part about, like, oh God, why am I doing this? That's just a joke,
But so there was never any existential doubt on your part. This was, you were always fully in. You were going to see this through.
I was. There were times
that's cool.
after, because I shot for 3.5 years, and then the break of about 3 years, and then a break of about 4 years for the end. And there were times during that break I thought, oh my God, I'm never going to finish this film.
Oh, I would think so. Yeah. I would think. I mean, doesn't any artist? I mean, aren't they? I'm not suggesting you were necessarily plagued by doubt, but there, again, mountain to climb. I mean, the garbage dump becomes almost a metaphor for the journey.
It really does. Yeah. It really does.
So tell me a little bit more about your background. I mean, did you go into this thinking, I have an idea of the story I want to tell? I want to. Can we talk a little bit more about the specifics and this woman, Mary Ellen, who comes alongside this family, who clearly is struggling, who lives in this garbage dump, who, like any great film, Michael, it's layered, right? I mean, this film is about so much more than what we're actually watching in front of our eyes. I mean, there's so much going on below the surface.
There is, and for me, when these days documentaries, are kind of in the Michael Moore style documentary, where it's a point of view. You're told, this is what I think about it. This is what can be done about it, and you're kind of given a solution. You're kind of spoon-fed what the story is, and that's not what I like to do. I like just to tell actual story and let the viewers really come to their own conclusions.
At what point, that's also really interesting because it seems to me that a lot of films are kind of made in the editing room, I suppose. I have no idea how much footage you actually shot, but over that long period of time, you must have had a lot of choices to make. And
Yes.
how do you not sort of, and especially as you get to know these kids and this family, and I would imagine in a pretty intimate way as the film goes on, the storytelling goes on. I felt like I knew this family in a pretty intimate way, and felt like I was sort of stepping into to scenes that was not embarrassing, but wow, am I even allowed to be here? And I guess that's the beauty of cinema verite, I suppose.
I mean, that those scenes. I mean, that's really what verite is about. When you feel like, am I supposed to be here? Because I felt that way too when I
Right.
was there, and there were very few times they happened when they would ask me, stop filming now, and I would do it, of course, because that's their truth, and I'm not about to. I don't want to overstep their privacy. I don't want to, invade their privacy. I want to tell the story as it is. But yeah, that was what was the beautiful thing of this family. The kids and the parents were very at ease in front of the camera, and they were very open with their lives.
What do you what do you think is the motivation for a family like this to say yes, come alongside us and film? Do you think they were hoping that you were going to be a catalyst for change, or you were some sort of pebble in the bigger pond, if you know what I mean, or did they truly want to? I love your phrase about their truth, and I wrote down our truth, their truth. Not that it's ever
Right.
not that it's ever that polarized, because there's so many different sort of perspectives and
Sure.
understandings. But yeah, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the advice I give. People ask me, I want to make a documentary. What advice can you give me? And that's pretty much the only thing that I tell them. I always say, tell their truth and not your own, and that's really my guiding principle. And when in the editing room, like we were just talking about, I try to keep it as real as possible. I don't like to manipulate any of the footage. I have to edit it, obviously. I get the essence of what actually happened always. And a lot of people, I think there are a lot of filmmakers out there that maybe bend rules for themselves, perhaps.
Yeah. So you say bending the rules.
Yeah, that's not something that I do.
And is that when you say bending the rules? It's really interesting. Do you sort of mean you might go with a longer take, for instance, rather than editing, like juxtaposing one comment over another? Is that the kind of thing you mean?
Yeah, I think sometimes people in documentary, not good filmmakers, but there are filmmakers out there and journalists out there that maybe take things out of context, or they try to take the footage and make it say what they wanted to say, opposed to what it's actually saying.
Well, I think it's interesting that you went down that path a little bit, because I think that's what I was trying to get at with the question. I mean, my background, as my listeners will know, is academically is philosophy, but driven and by social change, wanting to change the world, wanting to say things can be different, and working in this world of international development. I've seen a lot of these kinds of things and these kinds of interventions, and a white Westerner coming into a country and saying, hey, I can help, and here's my idea of how to help. And I just thought it was fascinating, the scenes with Mary Ellen and how
Yeah.
she steps into it, with good intention and with a real passionate desire to come alongside and to make a difference in this family's life. And you just got to wonder, well, certainly at that point I wondered where we were heading, and I kind of wonder if you did too, as you stepped into this story. Was that part of your hope, that you would be able to make a comment about the way we approach development? Michael, this is a film about education. This is it's about gender disparity. This is there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, and I think it's very interesting. Different people react to in different ways. I think however you slice it, whatever political take you want to put a spin on, she's a hero. Whatever, however anyone feels about it, she's trying to do good in the world. She does this in the United States as well. But I think some people are also offended by it.
I'm sure they are.
In some way. But she really just wants. She found out about the family through a friend of mine, and I actually went to her to try to raise money to make this film.
That's interesting.
Because I had heard it, and so before I could ask her for money, she asked me, how can I help this family? And she told me the projects that she does here in the States, and she decided that she would go and do it for them. I don't think it worked out quite as well as she had hoped, but kids, however you feel about a white Westerner coming in to save the day for people of color, those kids would be in a much worse situation had it not been for her intervention. I'm not sure they would all be alive. At the very least, they would be sniffing glue in Managua. The situation would be far, far worse. They would never have learned to read or write.
Well, and I'm so glad you said that, because I think, it's the kind of film I think that every political science student should have to watch and then write a piece about. I think it's every development student should watch this. Come in with good intentions, come in with an understanding of what it means, to build capacity, like all these phrases we use, right? And when where does the line between relief and aid end, and when and is it easy to back away? Because as you note throughout the film, Mary Ellen stays alongside, and so at what point is enough? There's so many questions that are raised that are so relevant and so important, and yet, as you wisely point out, things would be very different had this person not come alongside this family.
That's right, and I'm for me, I'm glad that she did, because I love these kids. I'm still in touch with the family and the grandmother. I'm sorry, are you there?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I bet you're still in touch. Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, but we'll keep going, and I think it's going to be okay. But yeah, every now and then you're kind of fading out just a tiny bit here and there.
Okay.
Yeah. So you were just saying you're still very much in touch with the kids.
Yeah, I'm in touch with the kids and the grandmother. She actually sort of Skyped me the other day. Or about a month or so ago, from where she lives. Her granddaughter had a smartphone, and I got to see her, which I hadn't seen her in about a year.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, how could you not become a part of this family, like stepping into that? Was there ever a point for you personally where you wanted to intervene and you didn't, because you were trying to stay true to the story, stay true to the film, and not cross that line?
Absolutely. I mean, every day. I mean, how could I not? How do you watch children eat garbage and not want to feed them? That caused a lot of sleepless nights. I mean, here I am, a Westerner. I sleep in a bed at night in Nicaragua, and these kids are eating garbage and living in poverty that it's hard to even imagine without actually seeing it. And yeah, I mean, so every day, but I knew that my job, and as a photojournalist, it's the same thing. My job is to document, and it's for the greater good. If I can make this film and show it to people, it will hopefully affect more change than just what I could do for just this family.
Right. Almost a utilitarian sort of moral stance in a way. I gotta say, Michael, there's so many images in the film. The realism, the stark realism, is going to stay with me for some time. But there is one scene in particular where I think the brother and the sister are collecting ketchup packs, and I think she says to him, or he says to her, how many ketchups did you find? And it just, and I work in this sector, and I've there's a very famous, as I'm sure there is in many cities around the world, and in the majority world, but in Cambodia, and I've done work in Cambodia for years, Stun Michni, and it's a dump like this, and a whole sort of village has sort of sprung up around the dump, and it's almost like this sort of microeconomy that exists. And so for me, those scenes of the garbage trucks coming in and people sort of waiting for the best garbage, if you will, was really very compelling for me, and I'm sure for most audiences. So you're about to step into your first festival screening. So you haven't actually gone through any live Q&A yet after the film?
Not at all. Very, very excited and a little nervous. I haven't seen an audience. You're one of the few people that have seen it, other than festivals, festival screeners, but that I've spoken to anyway.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, this is like your first. Is this like your first interview as well?
No, I've done a few interviews in the last week.
Oh, good. Well, that's good. Well, I'm fully suspecting many people are going to get to see this film over the next few years. There's a moment where Blanca says, and I don't want to say too much, and I'm sure you don't either, for people who might listen to the interview before the festivals. But she makes a comment about, and I think it speaks into this whole idea of intervention, and it must have been because it comes through as quite a palpable moment in the film. Where she says, I've never received a gift like this before. And
it's a beautiful moment. It's in the trailer.
It's in the it's in the trailer as well.
So we can talk about that.
So we can talk about that, because I think it really does sort of speak to the cynics in the room, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. She says, I've never received a gift like this before, beds for my children. And for me, it's one of the most moving moments in the film.
Do you have a new position? Were you more of a cynic before you started shooting this family, this story, Clean Hands? As a photojournalist, are you standing on different ground today? I mean, obviously, as a person, you are, the experiences you've had over this 7-year period. But where do you stand on this whole idea of development, of coming alongside somebody and offering a helping hand?
I think I think education is more important than just aid, of course, but give a man a fish, teach a man to fish, that kind of thing. But I think we have to help whoever we can, however we can. I've always felt that way. That's why I wanted to make a film like this to begin with. I think it's important to do service in the world, however that is. And for me, I happen to be a visual person, and able to tell a story. So that's what I do. What you do is, you do your radio show and shine light on other types of things.
I think one of the Yeah, one of the significant, and I'm with you on that. I agree. It's how, how can we, and that's one of the reasons why I do the podcast, and the whole idea is to talk to people like you, to hopefully others will hear, will want to see the film, they'll resonate in one way or another, and and kind of step into it, if you will.
Right, right,
Step
right.
into their lives in a just maybe a tiny bit more of an intentional way, and roll up their sleeves, whatever the heck that actually means. But I think one of the things for me about this type of filmmaking, and this film in particular, is that it's kind of a leveler, if you will. That I couldn't help but think of that phrase there. But for the grace of God, go I.
Hmm.
Whether or not you believe in a God is irrelevant, it seems to me. But the tone of that phrase is, but what did Bono say? It's an accident of geography that
Right.
that when there's another beautiful moment with the kids near the end of the film, or getting closer towards the end of the film, where they just say something to the effect of, we just want to learn, we want to move
Right.
forward, and isn't that kind of like the message? Isn't that where we're all sort of sitting to some degree?
It's exactly that. I mean, half of the world has too much, and half of the world has nothing.
Mm,
So, for me, part of it was humanizing